Welcome to Pam Jammer's Magical Tales. We post new stories every week, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share to stay updated. If you'd like to support the channel, see sequels, vote on upcoming stories, or even request a custom tale, check out my Patreon. Every bit of support helps bring more magical stories to life. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Final Girl Part 1. Chapter 1, The Invitation. Tom pushed the door open with his elbow, the screen banging shut behind him. Late afternoon sun slanted across the kitchen linoleum, catching the little shimmer of dust in the air. He set his canvas tote on the counter, brushed a strand of hair out of his eyes, and stretched. His reflection in the dark window caught his attention. He always looked younger than he wanted. Soft brown hair that never quite lay flat. A jaw that hadn't decided whether it wanted to be sharp or not. Big, open eyes the color of old amber. Puppy dog eyes, everyone called them that. Girls thought it meant he was sweet. Harmless. Soft. It was the first mistake most of them made. He slipped out of his sneakers, padding into the living room on quiet feet. Someone was sitting on the couch. She was stunning, but in a scary kind of way. Black hair twisted into a loose knot that might have fallen if she didn't hold herself with such quiet composure. A tight black crop top bared the flat plane of her stomach and the soft curve of her breasts. Her jeans rode low on her hips, just enough to show a dark band of elastic, a deliberate exposure. Not an invitation. Tattoos marked her skin in black lines and graceful arcs, flowers, fine inked leaves, geometric shapes curling over her collarbones and down both arms. She was barefoot, her ankles crossed neatly, her toenails painted a deep red that looked like it had been chosen purely for herself. She didn't look approachable. She looked like someone who already knew exactly what she was worth, and had no plans to lower herself for anyone. Her eyes were dark, steady, and bored. She looked right at him with the quiet disdain of someone who would permit you to look, but would never let you get close. You can look all you want, that gaze seemed to say. That's all you get. His mother was perched in the old blue armchair, smiling in that gentle, pleased way she had when she felt she was doing something good. "Tommy," she said, using the name he hated. "You're home." "Yeah." Amber didn't shift. She didn't smile or nod. She just studied him as though cataloguing something she didn't particularly care to keep. "This is Amber," his mom continued, her hand making a little fluttery gesture between them. "She's moving into the spare room." Amber lifted her chin a fraction. "Hi." "Hey." Tom let his smile bloom slow and warm, just a hint of shy, just enough to look sincere. The look that said, "I'm safe. I'm not like other guys." It was always the first move. Her eyes didn't soften. He leaned a shoulder against the doorway, giving himself an excuse to look her over, slow, appreciative. Her tattoos. The bare inch of skin above her jeans. The elegant line of her throat. She didn't blink. "Long day?" his mom asked, folding her legs under her. Tom shrugged, still tracking Amber's face. "You know. Same as always." Amber sipped from a plain white mug, her expression unreadable. "She just moved here from Portland," his mom said, tucking her hair behind her ear. "Needed a change of scenery." Amber's mouth curved, barely. "More sun." "Cool," Tom said, tilting his head. "What do you do?" Amber rested her elbow on the back of the couch, the motion making her shirt inch a little higher on her ribs. "I dance." "Yeah?" She met his gaze with a kind of unwavering calm. "I work at Eros." He blinked. Then he felt that little flicker of satisfaction, like a door opening in his head. Eros was a strip club. He'd never been inside, but everyone in town knew it. "That's cool," he said, trying not to let the interest sound too obvious. Amber lifted her eyebrows the tiniest bit, then looked away. His mom set her mug down, her voice soft. "She just had a rough breakup." Some man who thought he could tell her how to live. Amber's jaw tensed, only for a moment. Something like that. Tom watched the tiny shift in her expression, the way she recovered almost instantly. There was no vulnerability there. Only a wall she didn't plan to lower. It made him want to try harder. "So," he said lightly, "how long are you staying?" Amber didn't even glance at him this time. "As long as it works." His mother reached out, laying her hand on Amber's wrist with practiced warmth. "As long as you need." They shared a look, some quiet understanding he didn't have the map to. He tried not to let it irritate him. He'd been around women like this his entire life, book club veterans and workshop facilitators who talked about men as if they were a disease. He knew their type. He'd seduced their type. It wasn't malicious. He never set out to hurt anyone. But he knew exactly how to look at a woman like she was the only person in the room. How to tilt his head, how to soften his voice just enough to sound vulnerable. It worked every time. Half the women in his mother's circle had ended up in his bed at least once, late at night after too much wine, their righteous anger melting into something easier to navigate. He wondered if Amber would be any different. He'd bet not. Especially when she was already so comfortable displaying herself. Confident women who liked to be looked at were always the easiest. They never believed they were predictable. He let his smile tip lopsided, a little more daring. "Welcome to Berkeley," he said, dropping his voice half an octave. The tone that made women lean in without realizing. Amber looked at him with the same unbothered steadiness. "Thanks. Nothing else." His mother sighed, like she could sense the wheels turning in his head, and patted Amber's hand again. "Tommy, would you mind grabbing the last box from the car?" He didn't move for a moment. Then he nodded. "Sure." Outside, the sun had slipped behind the rooftops, leaving the porch in that pale violet light that always made the street look softer than it was. The jasmine by the fence was blooming again. He could smell it under the tang of warm asphalt. He stood by the open trunk, letting the air cool the flush in his neck. She was beautiful. That was undeniable. And if she thought he was just some harmless boy, sweet, safe, easy to dismiss, well, he'd seen that look before. He'd get her to look at him differently. He always did. Especially with women like her, women who dressed to be admired, who pretended not to care if you stared, who liked the game more than they'd ever admit. He lifted the box, heavier than it looked, and carried it inside. By the end of summer, he thought, she'd be his. He was sure of it. Chapter 2, Audition. Tom wasn't used to feeling invisible. Especially not at home. Especially not around women. But somehow, ever since Amber had moved in, he kept finding himself quietly edged out of the room. Not by force. Not by anything obvious. Just not included. She was always there, sprawled on the couch in a paper-thin tank top and tiny shorts, tattoos sprawling across her bare skin like ivy in bloom. The kind of presence that demanded attention. Not asked for, demanded. Most nights she and his mom sat together in the living room, watching movies. Horror, mostly, slashers and old black and white thrillers, the weirder the better. Tom would come in, hovering near the doorway, hoping Amber would say something like, "Hey, sit down." She never did. His mom didn't seem to notice. She was just glad to have company. "Amber's taste is intense," she said once, laughing as she pulled a blanket over her knees. "But I like that. It doesn't hurt that the protagonist is usually a woman in most horror movies." They'd watched Audition one night. Tom lasted about 30 minutes before pretending to get a phone call. He worked full-time at the bookstore. His mom had given him the hours because she trusted him with the space. Amber, on the other hand, worked maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. Always dressed in black, eyeliner sharp, walking out the door like it was a catwalk. She came home late, made tea in the dark, and disappeared into her room. Tom still didn't understand how she could afford it. But then again, dancers probably made good money. It annoyed him how comfortable she seemed. How easily she'd slipped into their home like she'd always belonged there. It annoyed him more that she never flirted back. He tried everything. Compliments. Jokes. Subtle brushes of his arm against hers when they passed in the kitchen. Nothing landed. One night over takeout, all three of them sitting around the coffee table, he leaned in and said, "You know, if you ever need a ride to work, I'm pretty available." Amber didn't look up from her spring roll. "You're not my type." He gave her his crooked smile. "You don't know that." She glanced at him then. "Trust me." He knocked on her door once. Just to borrow a charger. She opened it in a black sports bra and even smaller shorts, her hair wet from a shower. She handed him a charger wordlessly and shut the door without waiting for him to say thanks. Every few days he tried again. "You're just keeping me at arm's length to build the tension." "What is your type? Bad boys?" "I mean, I can be your type." Her answers never changed. "You're not." "No." "Trust me, no." But she never said stop trying. And that was enough for him to keep going. He found out she'd been going to the theater alone to see horror films. Just a couple blocks from the house, an old single-screen theater that played retrospectives and midnight screenings. He approached her in the kitchen while she was drinking straight from the orange juice carton. "You should let me take you next time." She raised an eyebrow. "Let you?" "I'll pay. You pick the movie. No pressure." She capped the juice slowly and set it back in the fridge. "I told you. You're not my type. Maybe you don't know me well enough." Amber looked at him for a long moment, then turned and left the room. He thought the conversation was over. A minute later, she came back. Something small and folded in her hand. She walked straight up to him and held it out. A pair of her panties. Black lace. "If you wear these," she said, "you can take me to a movie." Tom blinked. His face went hot. "No touching. No talking to me. You're just the ride and the wallet." She didn't wait for an answer. She turned and walked out of the kitchen. At the front door, she paused. Looked back. "Well, bitch? Are you coming or not?" He stared at her. Then down at the panties in his hand. Every muscle in his body screamed no. He'd never worn anything like this. He didn't even like thinking about what people would say if they found out. But she was already opening the door. "You coming?" Tom swallowed. The air felt thick, heavy in his lungs. He looked at the panties again. Soft. Delicate. Completely not his thing. But this wasn't about the panties. This was about winning. He turned without answering and walked toward his room. Chapter 3, Funny Games. They didn't speak on the walk to the theater. Amber led the way with a casual, unhurried gait, like she wasn't going anywhere important, just drifting. The streets were still warm, sun bleeding off the sidewalks, the sky fading to soft indigo. Tom walked a step behind her, heart hammering harder than he liked to admit. He could feel the panties. Every shift of his stride reminded him. The elastic hugging too high on his hips. The thinness of the fabric, the lightness of it, like something barely there. He hadn't worn underwear like this in his life. It felt like a dare. He kept his face relaxed, confident. He'd played high-stakes games before. He'd slept with professors' wives, seduced feminist therapists, turned not interested into don't stop. He could handle this. They reached the corner of Shattuck and turned down a little side street. The theater was tucked between an old metaphysical bookshop and a shuttered coffeehouse. Marquee in disrepair, faded posters in the windows. A place that had been surviving on cult films and student nostalgia since the 70s. Amber stopped outside the box office, turned slightly, and let him pay without a word. She didn't say thank you. Once inside, She got a cherry Coke and a box of red vines. He offered to carry them. She didn't answer. Just walked ahead, hips rolling like the night belonged to her. They took seats halfway up the aisle, dead center. A couple of punky girls were already in the back row, laughing too loud. A man in a long coat sat near the front, alone. That was it. Amber leaned back, one leg folded over the other. She sipped her drink. Unbothered. Tom shifted in his seat, tugging the hem of his shirt down. The panties hadn't been a joke. She hadn't checked, hadn't even mentioned it again. But they were real, and they were hers, and he was sitting in them in a dark theater next to the woman who gave them to him. The movie started. No previews. No chatter. Just silence, and then that stark, cold opening. Funny games. The original one, the German version. Grainy. Quiet. Icy as hell. Amber didn't flinch. Tom tried not to shift too much. Tried not to squirm. But it was hard. The movie wasn't jump scare horror. It was something worse, cruel, patient, indifferent. It didn't scare you. It broke you. By the 40-minute mark, Tom had muttered "oh no" at least 10 times under his breath. He glanced at Amber. She hadn't moved. Her face was totally calm, almost curious. Like she was studying a documentary. And every time he twitched or fidgeted in discomfort, she seemed just a little more interested, not in the movie, but in him. At one point, as he recoiled from a particularly brutal scene, she turned her head slightly. Not enough to look at him, just enough to notice. Her lips curved, almost imperceptibly. She liked that he was squirming. She liked that he couldn't handle it, and she could. When the movie ended, they stood up in silence. The lights came up slowly. Amber stretched her arms overhead, crop top riding up to flash a line of her stomach. Tom stared, feeling the elastic of her panties still snug under his jeans. They stepped into the street. That's when she did it. Without a word, Amber slid her hand down the back of his waistband. Just enough to feel the fabric. Just enough to get a grip. Her fingers curled around the panties and gave them a little tug. A sharp, knowing little wedgie that made his breath catch. She didn't look at him. Didn't smirk or tease. She just kept walking, her hand resting there like she owned it. Like it was hers. Tom didn't say a word. He didn't pull away. They passed the darkened co-op, a closed bookstore, a man smoking outside a bar. Amber gave the panties another tug, light, deliberate. Not mean. Not playful. Just possessive. And Tom, to his own horror, didn't hate it. He didn't want to like it. He wasn't the type of guy who cross-dressed. But something about the heat in her palm, the way her hand stayed there, owning him, reminding him of what he'd agreed to, stuck in his chest like a needle. He didn't know what to say. So he said nothing. Back home, the door clicked open and Amber stepped inside. Tom followed, half a beat behind. Still wearing her underwear. Still trying to tell himself this was a power play he would turn around. Eventually. She set her drink on the kitchen counter and headed for the hall. He lingered near the door. "Hey," he said, voice quiet. That was fun. She didn't turn around. She just disappeared into her room. The door shut behind her. Tom stood there a minute longer. Alone. Wearing her panties. No hug. No goodbye. Not even eye contact. He exhaled slowly. She was going to be a hard nut to crack. But damn, he thought, hand grazing the waistband at his hip. He wanted so badly for the shoe to be on the other foot. Chapter 4, The Descent. Tom had expected something to change. Not everything. Not overnight. But something. He'd worn the panties. Bought the tickets. Sat through one of the most psychologically brutal films ever made. And she'd touched him. Not just casually, intimately. Her hand on the panties' waistband, pulling, claiming. He'd gone to bed that night buzzing with adrenaline and pride. He'd pushed the boundary, and she hadn't walked away. She noticed him. But now, 3 days later, it was like nothing had happened. Amber was back on the couch every afternoon, lounging in her skimpy black shorts and sports bras, tattoos stretching and coiling with every languid movement. She talked to his mom. She watched horror movies. She barely looked at him. And when he sat beside her, tried to bring up the movie, bring back the energy, she just blinked at him with that same bored indifference. "Want to do another movie night?" he asked one evening while she stirred oat milk into her tea. He leaned against the kitchen counter, trying to look casual. "I mean, it can't get any worse than funny games. Let's keep it going." "I could." He lowered his voice a little. "I could wear the panties again." Amber didn't even glance at him. "That's boring." Tom blinked. "Boring?" She finally looked up. "Yeah. We already did that." "But I thought you thought it meant something?" She gave him a cool, almost pitying smile. "God, you're such a baby." He felt the rejection hit harder than he'd expected. Not because he liked her. Not like that. But because she wasn't following the script. He scoffed, folding his arms. "Okay, so what is your type?" "Not you. You barely know me." "I know enough." "You don't. I'm everyone's type. Seriously, if you just..." She set her tea down with a soft clink. Then she turned and left the room. Later that night, he knocked on her door. She didn't answer with words. Just opened it and raised her eyebrows. Tom held up the panties. Clean. Folded. Ready to be returned. "I figured you'd want these back." Amber looked at them like they were roadkill. "You? No." He frowned. "What?" "They're yours. Little bitch." "I don't want them." "Too bad. I gave them to you." She paused, smirking. Tom flushed. "That's not..." "Keep them," she said, and shut the door in his face. The next night, he found her in the kitchen again, making popcorn. "What would it take?" he asked, no preamble. Amber sighed. "What?" "To take you out again. Like a date. You said panties are boring now. So, what's the next level?" She turned to face him, chewing a popcorn kernel as if deciding how generous to be. "God, you're annoying. Like a little brother who won't stop asking questions." He raised his eyebrows. "That's supposed to scare me away?" "It's supposed to tell you you're wasting your time." He leaned on the table, smug. "Try me." Amber studied him a second. Then, like tossing a bone to a particularly eager dog, she said, "Fine. You want another shot?" "Yes." "Wear a dress." He blinked. "What?" "Wear a dress. For 24 hours. Then, maybe, we'll go to another movie. Same rules. No touching. No talking." He stared at her. "A dress." Amber sipped her tea. "That's what I said." "You're into girls?" "I didn't say that." "Then why?" "You talk too much." She smiled sweetly. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to hold on to his swagger. "Okay. So how am I even supposed to wear a dress for 24 hours? I work at my mom's bookstore." Amber shrugged. "That's your problem." Tom hesitated. "So what do I tell my mom?" "Tell her the truth. Tell her you've been thinking about wearing more feminine clothes for a while now. That you were too scared to ask, but you finally want to try." He laughed, a little too loudly. "She'll think I'm crazy." "No, she won't. She'll love it. She'll probably help you pick something." He groaned. "Jesus, you're evil." Amber leaned in slightly, voice soft and close. "Don't tell her it's about me. Don't say my name. If you want another date, Make her believe you really want to wear a dress. He stared at her. She tilted her head, her dark eyes sharp. Ask your mommy for permission. Wear the dress for 24 hours. Then maybe I'll let you sit next to me again. Tom shook his head. This is so fucking humiliating. Amber picked up her popcorn, walking away. Then don't do it. Tom watched her go, heart pounding, heat in his face, her words still echoing. He hated how calm she was. He hated how much he wanted to beat her at her own game. But most of all, he hated the part of himself that already knew he was going to do it. Thanks so much for watching today. We hope you enjoyed this week's story and found it relatable, enjoyable, or just a little comforting. Remember, we post new videos every week, so if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. If you found this helpful or know someone who might, don't forget to like the video and share it with your community. Your support means everything and helps us keep creating content just for you. And if you'd like to see sequels, vote on upcoming stories, or even get a custom tale made just for you, check out our Patreon. Every bit of support keeps the magic alive. Until next time, take care and stay true to yourself.